Hello and welcome. I'm your host, William Liu. You are listening to the Raptors Reaction Podcast. After the Boston Celtics win it at the buzzer, the Toronto Raptors have taken almost every single game to the buzzer in preseason. If you are not watching the Toronto Blue Jays right now, and you are choosing to watch the Toronto Raptors, at least they're giving you a competitive product. And I mean that in the serious sense because the Raptors have been very exciting down the stretch. The last two games, Toronto's managed to win on a last second play against Boston in Toronto. Jonathan Mobo with a game-winning layup against Washington. Olivier Sarr cutting backdoor with only 0.8 seconds left on an alley-oop lob play. And then this one, unfortunately, the Raptors lose this one. Big screw-up, I would say, defensively, after the Raptors had been so good defensively to force a 14-2 comeback in the dying minutes with Jamison Battle hitting two huge threes to tie it up. Unfortunately, both Jamal Shed and Jamison Battle got switched up on their coverage. Both guys went to the same guy. That left Tillman wide open in the middle of the lane. Inbound to Tillman. Tillman with, honestly, kind of some really nice touch, I got to say, but goes in for a little floater, Jakob Poeltl style, and knocks it down for the game winner. So the Raptors lose in this one. Realistically, that's cool. Like, it was honestly kind of like, unexpected that the game was even going to be that competitive towards the end, considering it looked like Boston was going to take the lead and had put this game to bed. But the most important part of this game was that the Toronto Raptors starting five finally got out there healthy for the first time, I guess, as a unit. And we finally got to have our first look at what the Raptors are going to look like with their starting five. And yeah, I mean, first off, Jakob Poeltl has been out for the first the first 4 games of preseason with back spasms. And when he came into the game, certainly looked like he had back spasms because he was moving a lot slower out there, was a step slow, wasn't fighting as hard as you would imagine on the rebounds. And I just think that typically you would get a lot better version of Jakob. I mean, tonight, I would even say he was borderline bullied a little bit and pushed around by Neemias Queta, who is a bit of a butcher. I gotta say, that guy is just like knocking guys around, pushing people around, moving screens. Played a great game. Would not mind him on the Raptors. I would not mind a player that style on the Raptors. But in any case, he won the physicality battle against Jakob, who, in addition to having a bad back, also has turned 30. Congratulations, Jakob. Now that you're 30, bad backs are a pretty common symptom of just, your age. So take care of yourself, Yak. But we didn't get to see the best version of Yak, but at the same time, we still at least got to see what the thinking is behind the starting five and sort of what they would look like, their strengths, their weaknesses. So on the whole, the Raptors did finish minus 12 in terms of the starting five out there tonight against the Boston Celtics team that, this is their last preseason game, so they were certainly going pretty hard. And, they're already pretty banged up, obviously, with Jason Tatum out. Jaylen Brown left the game with a hamstring pull after the first quarter, so that really hampered things. They really cut into just how much Boston's depth will be limited this season, because you saw a lot of players who you did not see play much of a role, for example, in their championship winning season. Basically just Pritchard and Derek White were the ones out there primarily for them. And yet they fought pretty hard. And I got to give the Celtics a lot of credit because they have a clear identity. They played really hard, especially in front of the crowd. The crowd was really into it. The intensity of the game. I mean, Joe Mazzulla is intense when he guards media members. So you can only imagine how intense he wants his players to play, even in a preseason setting. And credit to them. I mean, obviously that's a championship organization. They played hard, and it was a back and forth battle the whole night. In fact, it took the Raptors a while to even come back and get back into the game after Darko had to call the first time out, down 11-4. So right now, if I had to say, there are definitely more issues with the Raptors starting five. To sort of work out. It's natural. Again, Jakob having a bad back is the thing, but also this is just a group that's never played together in an NBA context just yet. I think right away, the first item of what they need to work on is their spacing. Part of the reason that Boston was able to take the lead and also just do a good job of, I guess they won the game. So the reason they won the game despite their sort of limited capacity in terms of who they had available, was just their rim protection. They had 12 blocks on the night, and held the Raptors to. I swear the Raptors could not have shot better than even 50% at the rim. It didn't help that the Raptors weren't shooting well from three either. That continues to be a bit of an issue for them. But yeah, the Raptors should be a team that scores well at the rim. You got Jakob, who's a very efficient finisher. Brandon Ingram's a great driver. RJ typically finishes better than he does on the rim, although today he was really poor. And then Scottie, I mean, he had a lot of issues there too. But I think when everybody struggles at the rim, and obviously having watched this game, like the biggest issue was just the spacing, because Boston, being smart, obviously started with two bigs. I had Keita, who's like a legit 7-footer, and then they had Chris Boucher, who obviously we all know. And, against the starting lineup of Jakob Poeltl and Scottie Barnes, neither of those guys were guarded above the three-point line. And especially in those half-court settings where other guys had the ball. Like, obviously, if Scottie has the ball, guys will kind of come a little closer to him. You're not just going to ignore applying ball pressure. But you just saw so much congestion in the lane, and you had lots of these awkward sequences where there's one, I think, at the end of the first half where Scottie was driving it, should have honestly just gotten a lane to the bucket. Probably did have a contested lane to the bucket, but he dumped it off to Jakob underneath. Jakob was like, first off, I guess he's kind of like, cramping the floor anyway by just being down there. But then he tries to like angle spin, see if there's a hook, nothing there. He kicks it out, except the kick out is to Brandon Ingram, who's standing at the free throw line. So then it's like not even the most ideal, because if you kick it out, you obviously want a guy behind the line for three. Ingram's like operating, trying to attack. Scottie's in the lane. Jakob's in the lane. At one point, when Ingram went to go shoot the ball, Scottie was somehow directly behind Ingram, but also not behind the three-point line. So certainly lots of spacing issues, and that's something you can anticipate even just coming into the season. The Raptors are going to have to get pretty creative to be able to stagger some of their players, to be able to sort of work around these issues. Again, like I thought what worked for the Raptors offensively, especially at the start, was very little. But what actually did work was giving the ball to Brandon Ingram at the top of the floor, working a pick and roll, and then spacing it out, sort of keeping it more simple. What did not work was the usual Raptors offense, which is let's dumping it to Jakob in the high post, let's have him sort of dribble handoff, let's try to work a lot. There's just a lot of guys trying to do dribble handoffs in the mid-range, and Boston's like, none of you guys are threats to score really from here, so we're going to sit back at the rim, particularly with our center, who's obviously going to be doing the heavy lifting, protecting the rim. And it just created the situation where it was impossible for guys to sort of really get to the cup. And so I'm not saying after one preseason game that we need to rethink like one of the Raptors' main, offensive sets, but they are going to have to really work on, okay, if it's not just necessarily about, the actual set itself, the execution of it has to be better in terms of the spacing and when people cut, or the timing when people cut, the angles in which people screen, everyone understanding where the options are coming off of each set, and also understanding what the counters are on each given moment. Because as of right now, there really was just a huge spacing issue for the Raptors. I think the Celtics played good defense too. I want to give them credit. They played really tough at the rim. The officiating, allowed a lot of contact, especially at the basket. And so like guys were able to, really play tough and physical out down there. And you got to give them a lot of credit. I mean, Derek White had 4 blocks. He's always been a premier shot blocker, but he had a fantastic game. I mean, goddamn it, man. Derek White with 33 points, 9 rebounds, 6 assists, and 4 blocks. Insane performance. But, Keita, blocked a couple shots. Josh Minott blocked a couple shots. Chris Boucher. So, like, just a lot of guys at the rim. But for the Raptors, like, spacing-wise, that really needs to be corrected, especially with the starting 5, because I think once the Raptors started staggering their lineups, like for example in the first quarter, the first substitutions were Scottie and Jakob both out at the same time. Coming in for them was Ochai, Agbaji, and Immanuel, and obviously those two guys are not as talented as Scottie and Jakob, but those two other guys can really shoot the ball and space the floor, and all of a sudden the Raptors 5-out offense could actually space out, and things were able to sort of come unglued at that point. So you can always stagger the lineup to sort of make the team look a little bit better, but ultimately you can't get away with the fact that that's your starting 5. You're going to roll that starting 5. You're realistically, the guys not providing spacing are Scottie and Jakob. Neither guy's getting benched. They're the 2 longest tenured players on the team, especially with contracts. And so it's like you just have to sort of figure out how to sort of work around it. One of the workarounds I think would definitely be if you got a better shooting night, or just a generally a better offensive night from Immanuel Quickley. Quickley certainly again continues to play great pressure defense. You know, you saw him draw 2 moving screens today. That's been an emerging trend. He's been doing it every single game. I think he was hustling really hard after the rebounds and stuff. He made a couple nice passes too. So all that was good, and got himself to a foul line a decent amount, especially in a game where the Raptors were not getting foul calls. I mean, they only got to the free throw line 18 times in this game, despite trying to play at the rim all the time. But I think the main thing is you need IQ, especially in that high pick and roll where he gets an action off of, Jakob Poeltl, preferably. He works off that screen, or if they're dropping on the play, or if they're late to switch and there's room to shoot it. Obviously, knocking it down. Today, IQ was only 1 of 8 from 3, so that wasn't much of a threat. And of course, if they are chasing him over the top and you have Jakob rolling, then that's a great opportunity for IQ to turn the corner, get down the lane, and either make a play at the rim or even hit the floater. Neither one was really going for him today. And those things I think would really come like a lot easier if they had that option to go along with the option of Brandon Ingram, who can sort of play a lot of pick and roll, play a little bit of one-on-one. I think one thing with Ingram today too was, as much as Ingram has the ability to score, there were moments where the offense was kind of disorganized, and he kind of took the responsibility upon himself to generate and create, and sometimes force a couple of shots that weren't necessarily ideal. I also think the other thing too is, at least at the start of the game, the Celtics were the more intense side. They were more into the ball. They're more physical. Obviously, being at home with all the excitement with the team around them. The fans, you saw a lot of people attacking Ingram's dribble. Ingram has a really nice handle, which he displayed many times here today. He has a really smooth behind the back move, where he's able to really shift positions. And, especially in the open court, I really like his ability to sort of evade a little bit of pressure and then keep pushing the ball up as if he was a point guard, which he definitely has those skills. His handles are really good, especially for his height. But at the same time, when he's dribbling in tighter moments where it's in a half-court setting, where he's pressed up against the sideline, when he gets this late double, guys are really swiping in and sort of knocking the ball away. And so, even though Ingram had a lot of impressive moments, he ultimately obviously scored 20 points on 22 shots. So the shot selection was, obviously a little bit off at moments, but also he got the ball poked away a little bit. So there's those things. I think the other thing too is just like actually seeing the offensive process from Scottie Barnes, which has been a big talking point for everybody. I think it's a pretty big, you can't really ignore it. Like, obviously he's the leader of the team. He's the best player on the team. But he's been asked to play a different role this year. And I think, looking at what I saw today, what was interesting was in the starting 5, I really can't see that the Raptors are calling that many plays for Scottie. In the first shift of the game, I would say he didn't even take I think in the first like 3-4 minutes before Darko called the first timeout down 11-4, I don't even think Scottie initiated one attack or finished one attack, for example. So like there obviously it isn't a lot of priority with him in the starting 5 in terms of how to get his playoff. Oh, nice double play by the Jays, baby. Let's go. Shane Bieber cooking. Sorry, I got the Jays on the second screen. Obviously, you understand. It's a big time for the city right now. But yeah, Scottie, like he isn't getting his number called very much in the starting 5. Like there really is a lot of mouths to feed. You got the IQ pick and roll. You got Jakob putting in the high post. You got Brandon. RJ honestly doesn't even have the ball that much in terms of trying to initiate, but he's obviously finishing a lot of plays. And so you kind of have Scottie kind of off to the side, or even just facilitating, making the first pass and then getting out the way. Where you see the feature moments for Scottie is when he's coming back in. And I think it is smart of Darko to sort of take Scottie out early in the game, and then bring him back with the second unit, usually a substitute for Ingram. Like, for example, you saw the rotation pattern tonight in the first quarter, which was Scottie and Jakob came out first, and then Scottie went back into the game without Jakob. This time it was like Mamu, it was like Jamal Shed, Ochai Agbaji, Jacoby Walter. So basically like Scottie and 4 shooters. And you got to see sort of like Scottie operate a lot more, not just as the main guy, the main fulcrum of the offense, but also in a better context where there's a little bit more spacing around him. Now, I think a couple things really are standing out with Scottie, especially in a performance like this where he goes 3 of 13 from the field. I think number one is just like, this season in particular, there is really no need for an early shot clock jumper from Scottie Barnes. Even if it's like wide open, even if it's like he's got a great matchup in the post or in the mid range where he prefers to operate these days. Um, I just don't want to see these early shot clock jumpers. I just think that that's kind of taking the defense and bailing them out in a way. And what I mean by that is I got two examples. First quarter, I think roughly around the 3 or 4 minute mark, there were 16 seconds off on the shot clock. Scottie takes a contested pull-up mid-range with a guy right in front of him and no real size to rebound under the basket. Takes a contested mid-range with 16 seconds left on the clock. That didn't go in, and the Celtics were able to get the rebound and go the other way. Just absolutely, there's just a hard no. Like, there's just no need to take that type of shot. And then later on, at the start of the second quarter, with about 10 minutes left, the ball gets swung out to Scottie at the top of the floor. And yeah, Derek White was a little bit off of him, like not like completely off, but like, like hand down, like Derek White's like probably a step away from Scottie. But with 16 seconds off of the shot clock, he decides to, hit to shoot the three and pull. And it's just like, obviously Derek White got out there with a late contest, but the ball was also not close. It literally hit only backboard. And it's just like, especially at this given moment, and I'm not saying to abandon the jumper entirely, but those are just bad shots in any context, right? Like even if you want, I've heard a lot of pushback in terms of like, okay, it's preseason, let's try things out. Let's try things out that will actually be good process going forward, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, try things. It doesn't just mean discard it. Like, I think one of the issues when you play a lot of tanking basketball is that, like, it's like it doesn't really matter. Possessions are kind of fungible. Like, we're trying to lose, so like, okay, whatever. Like, but like that's not the focus this season. And I really feel like some of those like not even bad habits, because that sounds like it's a flaw. I just mean like those instincts to like not necessarily take every possession and maximize it. Those are objectively bad shots, and I would say that for anybody who is a substandard shooter, you know what I mean, like. So I think that those things, number one, need to be cut out. I think the other thing too is you actually saw a really concerted effort here from Scottie to play inside the paint, to go hard to the basket, and just those were the majority of Scottie's looks. Like, Scottie really didn't settle for a lot of mid-range jumpers today. He hit a turnaround mid-range to sort of beat the shot clock, which was nice. He had no chance. He had no other choice there, and quite frankly, that was a really skilled move to hit the turnaround on the baseline. That's good, but obviously that's context, right? Like, it's different when you're taking a contested mid-range 16 seconds in, or 16 seconds left on the shot clock, versus you got to get a shot up one-on-one and you hit a turnaround jumper. That's different. But you didn't see a lot of jump shooting from him. You saw a lot of him going to the basket. And I think what you saw here tonight was, a situation where Scottie didn't really have a great plan for what he was trying to finish around the basket, or how he was trying to finish around the basket. I counted at least 5 times tonight where he went to the rim and tried to either seek out contact and try to play, with that bump in mind, or he was trying to rush and beat, I guess, like avoid the contact, try to get there before it got in and kind of rush the finish. And, I think it's great that he was driving to the basket. Those things are, things that you would like to see from Scottie. But I think the Celtics defense, like I mentioned, they were pretty stacked. They're pretty contained on trying to protect the basket. And so they always had bodies there. Even when they had spacing fives like Mamu out there, they still had bodies in the paint. And I think you saw moments where there's one drive I remember in particular, I think it was probably Scottie's first like strong take to the cup, where he like took one hard dribble and then kind of like went for a straight line drive and then had to take off from a little bit further out. And so it is a layup, but it's like a 5-foot running layup through contact. That is just not a good shot. You know what I mean? Like, I think it would require a lot of touch to sort of get that sort of thing off. But those are the kind of rush drives that sometimes RJ is also guilty of as well, in terms of, yes, you're taking it to the basket. That's a great aggressive move, but there wasn't enough of a move. There wasn't enough of a process that you are ultimately shooting what is, still a low percentage shot despite being closer to the basket. And you just saw a few of those. I think sometimes, it's about finding the right balance too, because, if you're going to go to the basket a lot, you're going to have to try to change up the ways you're going to finish. You might have to throw in an up fake once in a while. You might go, dunk on a guy once in a while. You might have to switch hands and change angles, like all those things. Like, you have to be pretty thoughtful basically to be able to finish around the basket. And I just thought today was like a little bit rudimentary. Like, a lot of it was rushed. A lot of it was going like straight in. And of course, once you missed a couple of drives to the basket, you just see a little bit of like complaining, like, okay, you know what? Like, oh, I got hacked, like let's get the call. There's one play where Scottie went up and finished the layup, and he was yelling and one. He was screaming it right in front of the face of the referee. Easily could have been called a technical foul. And you even had Jack on the broadcast being like, that's not an and one. Just get back. You know what I mean? And it was during a point where the Raptors were playing, in a pretty tight back and forth sort of battle in that third quarter. And so I think the process was better. The results weren't better, let's say, as compared to the last game. But for me, it was just like, okay, the non-negotiables are just like the long jump shots early in the shot clock, especially because Scottie's not a strong shooter. Those just need to be cut out. Just period. I think that's non-negotiable. But I do think that like the process of him going to the basket was good, and it's just about making the right reads. We know Scottie can finish. Scottie's been a high percentage finisher in the paint. Even just like physically, you look at him, he's strong, he's big. Tonight he just kind of like was kind of off sync. Like sometimes when he should have went up strong, he didn't. And then sometimes when he went up strong, he didn't really make a move. And so he's contested. So, like these nights will kind of happen, but I actually really like the approach. What I thought really worked really well for Scottie was when he got these early seals, where, depending on sort of who he switched on to on defensive end, when the floor changes and who you're guarding becomes the guy who guards you, then Scottie was able to run quickly into the post, get early catches from his guys, and then just attack from there. And by the way, when he was under control on the drives, he did a really good job of kicking it out and making the right pass, because when he can sort of be under control, see the drive, see the help is coming. And again, the Celtics were really aggressive at taking away the paint. When the help was coming, he was making the right passes out. And so the Scottie paint touches are good, not only because they're good for him to potentially score, but also to set up the team's offense. And I thought he did a good job of that. But that's more playing under, on balance, playing with sort of like a plan in mind. And I like the early seals. Again, those things are things that the Raptors can use a lot with him early in the game. So, there was that aspect. Ingram, like I mentioned, just ended up taking a few contested shots. I know that's sort of one of the knocks against him. I do like how tough he played, though. Like I think this again, like the skill level is just like really, really notable. In terms of like what he can do out there. Probably my favorite sequence of the entire game was, I think it was early in the fourth quarter. Ingram drives to the basket. No, sorry, this is in the third quarter, sorry. But Ingram drives, gets to the mid-range, gets hacked, and then he goes up for the and one, fading away, and it's clearly an and one. Like, it's absolutely clearly an and one. And it's the referee who's on the sideline, like nearest to the play, who's watching the whole thing happen. And he, instead of calling the and one, goes and emphatically says, no, it's on the floor, it's on the floor, it's on the floor. And like, the broadcast is saying it's wrong. Ingram is pissed, and everything, is just clearly that it was, it should be an and one instead of just a regular foul on the floor. And on the ensuing inbound play, Ingram fights through the physicality, pushes off his man, gets the catch, and then goes strong to the cup and finishes. And I'm just like, that's a bucket right there. He got two buckets, two tough buckets, mind you, on the same play. And I think that's the mentality that sort of like, when he's really, has it in the mind to score, it's hard to sort of deny what Ingram can do. I mean, you had a play where he's on the baseline, 5 seconds left, the play's broken down, he's caught it on the side, on the baseline, and he's got to go one-on-one, I think against Baylor, Shireman, whatever. Takes two hard dribbles into the lane and then turnaround jumper over the shoulder on the, and swishes it. That shit is beautiful. Or when he's pump faking, attacking closeouts, one dribble, Euro step to the basket, and then the way he elongates. And that's the thing, like, if like compared to some of the Scottie finishes, for example, around the basket, like some of those are like rushed, or some of those are like push shots, or like farther out that really require balance, touch. You got to really have strength to sort of absorb the bump. Like so many things can throw off that type of shot. Versus with Ingram, when he's driving to the basket, like he's so long that he's just like stretching for these finger rolls that are like basically like 2 feet away, maybe even just like right there at the bucket. And those things were really nice. In fact, there were a lot of times tonight where I felt like Ingram, his ability to just like extend and unfurrow is like really impressive, because you don't really see him bumping guys, knocking guys around. That's obviously not his game on either end, really. But when you see him contesting for rebounds and snagging some of these, like he had 10 rebounds tonight. Like he's just reaching above guys and somehow getting it, and then the finishes at the basket where he was able to convert at the rim. It's just like the extra bit of length that guys can't necessarily reach to, that can contest, and that gets him closer. Even if he himself is like 5 feet from the basket, between the jump and the finger roll and the reach, like he's basically making it a layup. So that was really, really just fun to see from Brandon in his offensive process. He continues to be a nice treat out there. And I think defensively, like, yeah, he made a couple nice plays. There was this one play where he ended up having to guard the opposing center, and then so he got brought into a pick and roll as like the help defender in the paint, and Peyton Pritchard tried to drive it and sneak a layup in. Ingram easily blocked him at the cup. So I don't know. I mean, I think there's a lot of concerns about Ingram in terms of what he can do in terms of fitting into the Raptors' intensity defensively. Look fine to me. I wouldn't really say that there were that many issues defensively with sort of what he did. And ultimately, I just like the fight that the Raptors played with. I know it's preseason, but it was truly a real battle between the two teams. Both teams were using their regular rotations. Obviously, the Celtics, unfortunate for them that Jaylen Brown left the game after their first quarter. And so that forced him to go even deeper into the rotation. But Derek White was playing like he was Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum and Derek White all rolled into one. Like it was impressive to see this game from Derek White, and honestly, that was the main reason why the game was even close, because obviously, well, Derek White, and then also defensively, the Celtics protecting the rim. But even so, the Raptors, and again, this is not trying to cope with the result of the game, because I don't care about the preseason win or loss. I'm more or less talking about the process. But when the Raptors pulled their starters and finished the game with their bench guys, they were up to, it was 88-86 with about 7 minutes left. The Celtics continued to roll their starters back out until much later, just because, again, this is their last preseason game. So they kept their guys like Pritchard and White out there a little bit longer. Simons played a lot of the game and stuff like that. But yeah, like the Raptors did fight, and even though a lot of things weren't going their way, open threes weren't dropping for Quick, guys weren't finishing at the cup, Raptors still did fight and take the lead. So that was all pretty good. And ultimately, like, yeah, I think the biggest thing for the Raptors starters is just they need to figure out their spacing really badly. I honestly think that there's a lot of stuff that they can scrap just in terms of those high elbow sets. Like, I just don't see as much need for those anymore, especially with the starting five as is, because I think the most dangerous things that you can do with that starting five, in no particular order, is probably like Brandon attacking off a screen with the floor like decently spaced, or at least guys in the right positions. You have IQ, the pick and roll as well, especially when he's going. Tonight obviously didn't. I would say Scottie in the post, sealing maybe Jakob in the opposite dunker, or maybe Jakob setting an off-ball screen for Quick or Brandon to get open off a screen for three. And then obviously RJ hitting catch and shoot threes or attacking closeouts going to the basket. Those are all, decent things. I like, by the way, the rebounding that the Raptors starting five potentially could have. Again, like I think Jakob with a fully healthy back would really help in some of these instances. But I like when the Raptors rebound, especially Scottie. I think Scottie, this is the best. But when he gets to rebound, he immediately looks for that hit-ahead pass to sort of outlet. And once that outlet is made, lots of good things happen. And honestly, the Raptors' half-court offense, no matter sort of how creative they get with it, they're probably still going to be quite clunky. Like, I just genuinely think that that starting five, because of the spacing issues in the modern NBA, it's just going to be a little bit easy to sort of gum them up half-court wise. They're going to shoot a lot of mid-range jumpers, partially as a result of not going to the basket, also because some of the strengths of guys like Ingram and even Scottie are like, they like to operate in the mid-range. So they're going to shoot more of those. So they're going to bring their sort of like overall efficiency down. But when they play out in transition, they can look quite good. And I think, again, the major thing with them in transition is whoever gets that rebound first, don't look to sort of like reset to the point guard. Don't look to like, oh, who is this? Who hit a home run, man? I guess, okay, yeah. What is this? Okay, it's 13. It's 12-3. It's 12-3. We're okay. Jays are okay. Yara Rodriguez, please go out there and get the last 5 outs of this game. But yeah, the hit-ahead pass and getting out in the break, I think, is going to be really important, because like they're going to need to really, supplement some of their offense on the transition side. But ultimately, like a really fun game, really competitive, really came down to the wire, and I know that it's like, I think people were like, oh, look at the Celtics on paper, like they should play a lot better than this. I don't think the Raptors played a perfect game by any means, but I thought they played hard. They fought, they scrapped. And it was a good first look at what the Raptors starters have to offer and sort of where some of the trends might go from here. So we are going to take a very quick break. I'm going to try to pause for a second and go through your questions and answer those on the other side of this break. And of course, hand out the 3 stars and, maybe catch a little bit of this 8th inning here as Cal Rowley goes to the plate. So stay tuned and leave your questions in the chat right now.
This show is brought to you by Simply Spiked. Will, I know summer's over, but you are not done with Simply Spiked, are you?
No, absolutely. This is my preferred drink of choice, as you know.
What do you prefer? What is your favorite flavor? Is it the lemonade? Is it peach? Is it limeade?
Number 1 is actually the blueberry, which I tried looking around my house. I don't even have anymore.
Well, good to know. It's not even anything I listed there. Hello and welcome, fans. If you're not sure what flavor you want to get yourself a variety pack so you can try each flavor. It really is the ideal drink for any occasion, from hanging with your friends to catching this upcoming Toronto Raptors season. Nothing will get you feeling refreshed and ready for the season like Simply Spiked. Fall is approaching, but there's no need for pumpkin spice when you got Simply Spiked.
Oh, very good. But no.
Thank you. I know this is an ad, but Will, you really love your Simply Spiked.
Absolutely is not a joke. I'm not kidding.
Pick up Simply Spiked at your local liquor store for your next hangout. Must be legal drinking age. Celebrate responsibly.
Okay, still going through your questions here. I can definitely see that people are crashing out about Scottie. We can't do this every game, man. We're going to ruin, honestly, a lot of the fun of the season if every game we're just yelling about whether Scottie's injured or not or, whatever. Like, it's just, man. Like, I'm telling you, I promise you, this is the least fun part of Raptors fandom is just screaming back and forth about Scottie Barnes. Yeah, it's not particularly great to see this every single game. Obviously, we're going to talk about him. He's the most important player on the team. He's the most paid player on the team. He's the longest tenure player on the team. He's the best player on the team. But damn, like, it's just like, yeah, I don't know. Are we going to fight about him every single year? I mean, this is just really, really tough. Okay, let's get a couple of your questions in. Appreciate you guys for sending them in. And yeah, what's going on, man? Someone said Will lacking me. What do you mean, man? What am I not here for? Yo, how many home runs is Yari Rodriguez gonna give up, man? Okay, there we go. Thank goodness. It's just a fly ball. Appreciate you guys, man. No, man, I'm always gonna be here for the React Pod, man. You can't just give me like 2 seconds to put up the scoreboard. Come on, guys. Let's chill out, man. Okay, let's get to a couple of your questions. Okay. First one from Dennis. Been following Brandon Ingram since Duke. Tonight was an off game for him. I know this. He needs shooters around him. RJ and Scottie ain't it. Okay, let's address the first part. Actually, I one thing about Ingram I really like is that he definitely has a built-in fan base. Like, I mean, having played for some premium organizations like Duke, like the Lakers, like, he's just going to naturally carry a lot of fans. Number 2 overall pick as well. Actually, I remember watching Ingram a lot in college. I don't typically watch a lot of college basketball, but I watched that team a lot that year. I even remember writing because I used to have to cover a lot of college basketball as part of my job at the Score. And I remember writing an early piece about him, just being like, is there's like, I mean, this is hardly a hot take at that time, but it was like, this is like, he's got a lot of like young KD in him. He's turned out to be a guy who handles the ball a lot more than KD. KD, I think, has really learned to play off the ball a little bit more and just be more efficient. But even KD himself has said, like, I think KD's quoted in interviews out there saying that, like, in terms of guys who are similar to me, the guys most similar that I can see is like Brandon Ingram. And I was just like, that's coming from like one of like a top 5 scorer of all time. You know what I mean? So even if he's just talking about stylistically, that still has to be a really nice compliment. Yeah, I think tonight was a bit of an off game for him. I think, again, like the spacing wasn't ideal. Again, I described that one play where Ingram was taking a mid-range jumper and Scottie was like literally right behind him. I was like, yo, this is just not basketball, man. Like, you know what I mean? But it was also the same time, the whole play got screwed up because Jakob was in the lane, so Scottie couldn't take it in, and then Jakob couldn't finish it because everyone else is in the lane, and then Ingram had to take a mid-range shot because everyone else is in the lane. So spacing-wise is not great, and I think that's why he's saying here that they need shooters around him. RJ and Scottie aren't it. I mean, I don't think that's entirely fair. I think, again, like, you got to give them a little bit more time. I think Scottie helps Ingram a lot with, especially on the defensive end, the rebounding. I think a bit of the playmaking as well, although Ingram could certainly be a guy who can get it on his own. But again, just having other guys to sort of play make and make things easier for him in terms of getting him to play off ball, catch and shoot. And you got to give him a little bit of time. I agree. Like obviously for everybody, more spacing is better for everyone. But yeah, and then I think RJ and Ingram have actually played pretty well off each other. I just don't think that that's entirely fair. But I mean, again, I definitely could sense the idea that like more spacing would certainly help. Just everyone in the offense a little bit. Someone says BI needs to learn how to flop a little. Come on, man. I hate that. No. I don't like that actually. I mean, obviously we had Kyle Lowry, who was a premium flopper, and it helped the Raptors a lot. But I don't know. Ingram is so pure, like in terms of his offense, like it's like genuinely really pretty to watch his game. That I'm just like, I actually don't want to see him flop, just because even if it would give him a couple more calls. And tonight, what he had, 22 field goal attempts and 2 free throw attempts. So obviously that's not ideal. We've seen him have a better balance of that, by the way, in previous games. So this is more of an aberration. But like, no, man, his process is too good. Like I actually would love to see Ingram try to score as best as ability, because guy just has some really, really good scoring ability, man. It's really fun. They do need to unlock Ingram's playmaking. He's one of his best traits. I agree, but I think it's a very different context. I think that like the way they want him to play in New Orleans is going to be different than the way they want him to play in Toronto. I think in New Orleans he had the ball a lot, especially I was watching a lot of like the super cuts of like all his buckets, for example, from an entire season. And I'm just like, yeah, so many possessions start with Ingram having the ball, getting a screen, and then pulling up. And I'm just like, you know, it's a hard diet to live on consistently. You know what I mean? Like you're just, it's really going to wear people down. I think especially gets time to the fourth quarter, like, you know what I mean? Like, you know, you've expended a lot of your energy trying to like handle and beat defenses and guys trying to dig at the ball and stuff. I think in Toronto, they definitely, I mean, in an ideal world, there's a lot more off-ball actions to sort of get him to score and get him free without the ball, and so he can catch and shoot. Certainly he's a very good version of that player as well. So I think there's that. But yeah, I mean, again, like I wouldn't really mind giving him the ball and just getting him a screen and spacing the floor. I think that like out of anybody on the team, he can really do that the best. And I think there will be lots of instances, not necessarily the starting five, but I think with the sort of mixed lineups with like some starters, some bench, where clearly he's like the number one, and then they just sort of space out and give him the ball. He's nice. Yeah, and I agree with this take too. This Ingram is attacking the basket more often. He just needs to figure out a way to get those calls, because he won't flop to sell it. Yeah, that's fair. But I do like his process of attacking the basket. It's smooth. He gets to the rim. Again, the length always kind of catches people by surprise. It's really fun, man. It's been fun to watch. We got $5 here from Power Duster 3000. Appreciate you. Thank you. Anything to read into with the Raptors playing the maximum 6 preseason games? No, I don't really think so. To be honest, this is like not the usual situation. Like the Raptors will usually play less than this. But I don't know. I think they just played the maximum 6 because, you know, actually I haven't really minded it. I think they've really needed this time to sort of get guys into shape, get guys into their rotation. I'm happy that this isn't the last preseason game for the Raptors, because we'll get another chance to see the starting 5 on Friday when they play at home in Brooklyn, or against Brooklyn in Toronto, because after that, it will literally be the season opener the following week with the Raptors heading to Atlanta. So they actually have needed this time to sort of really get tuned up. Oh, Addison Barger. Oh, my God. Yo, that's at least 400 feet, man. Damn, that's a bomb. It's time to let's get Addison going, man. He's been struggling in this series. Well, I guess everyone's been struggling in this series until today, but it is now 13-4 as Addison Barger rounds the bases. But yeah, appreciate the $5. I don't mind. Actually, 6 preseason games. What else are we gonna be watching, man? So that was fun. Next one from here. Wait, am I behind on the feed? I might be behind. I see other people kind of catching up on me a little bit. Oh yeah, wow, I'm really like a minute behind, huh? Okay, Ernie Clement grounds out. Hey man, Ernie's been fantastic, bro. Ernie like he's like the Fred VanVleet of this playoff run, basically, of like, just, you didn't think he would do all this, but he's been doing all this. So next one from Nestor. Why are we not talking about IQ? What's going on? Yeah, I saw a lot of people, you know, just beg me to talk about IQ. I thought I talked about IQ a decent amount here today. I think the process for IQ continues to be that they want him to play largely off ball, catch and shoot for 3, be aggressive, and try to get as many of those attempts up as possible. And then really, you know, lean into more of pressuring the ball, more of generating turnovers on that end. Kind of like a 3-and-D. You know, honestly, the way they want IQ to play, the perfect player to play with that would be Derek White, actually. But anyway, yeah, you saw like a pretty concerted, uh, push from IQ to shoot as many threes as possible. He got 8 in 30 minutes. I think that's around, the right amount. He got a couple, like a lot of open ones. Like I think those were good ones. Like it wasn't even like he was forcing bad ones. He just wasn't, knocking those down tonight. And yeah, I mean, defensively, I think he's never going to be a stopper. Like I just truly don't think that. But I think he can be more disruptive. Those little, dark arts, let's say, that I think every point guard should have in terms of, outthinking the defense in ways like, him today, for example, he sold 2 moving screen calls. So small stuff like that to steal a couple possessions here or there. I mean, it's just like what you want from your point guard, right? Like we had Kyle for how long? You know what I mean? So, there you go. Next question. Nathan says, I can tell Scottie's getting frustrated with his output. I'm sure he's hearing the off-court criticism. Will is right, though. His offensive process matters more right now. Output will come with reps. I mean, Scottie's a big boy. He's been in the league a long time. You know what I mean? Like he's been an all-star. He's he's making the max. He's been rookie of the year. This is also preseason. Like this is nowhere close to the level of noise that would happen if this would happen in the playoffs or if he had some of these struggles, even in some important regular season games. I truly think that especially by year 5, like people should have like not the ability to sort of tune it out because obviously some aspects of it can be genuinely be annoying. Like I can totally understand or even sympathize with the idea of like if somebody was making a whole podcast about my performance, it would be a little off-putting in certain ways because people, I don't know, people don't necessarily like to be picked apart. It's obviously can be a pretty uncomfortable feeling. But again, like this is his going into his 5th year. He's been he's played for Team USA, I think, even in like under 17s and stuff like that. So he's played for huge programs. Florida State, I'm sure they got tons of fans. Montverde, they got tons of people watching, even in high school. So I'm sure that like to some extent he's used to this. So I really don't think that aspect is going to be that important. I think the biggest thing is just putting your head down and figuring out ways to win and not necessarily caring what that looks like. You know what I mean? Like I think that's the thing I love with Kyle, for example. And I actually see a lot of Kyle in Scottie. I remember early in his career, obviously early in his career, later in his career too, but especially early in his career, like, Kyle's, temperament can sometimes really get the best of his game and he used to clash with coaches. Scottie doesn't really clash with coaches in that same way, but like that sort of will to win. And like, I think there's something to be really appreciated about players who are like, I don't necessarily need to win on my terms. Like I don't need to win doing the things I want to do. I'll just do whatever, and truly mean it. Because Kyle is like the master of playing ugly basketball, but like that guy was always trying to find an edge, trying to mold himself into whatever the team needed at that moment. And I appreciated that because there are way more games of Kyle Lowry winning ugly, getting a key offensive rebound, taking a key charge, making a couple great passes, leading the bench on a random 12-2 run to flip the momentum of the game in the third quarter. Then you actually saw of like Kyle Lowry hitting like 40 balls in game winners. Like that very rarely happened. But the reason the Raptors won so much was that he was willing to win ugly all the time. So I actually think that for Scottie, like there's a lot of that aspect of his game that he is embodying and he needs to do for this team. And that's where I've never really, especially in the preseason, we've talked a lot about his offense. I think defensively he was great. Like tonight, he continues to be, a really good helpline defender. I think he had 2 rotating blocks at the basket. Again, when he gets the rebound and he throws it up ahead, those are all really good things for the team. And those don't look like stats. Those don't really be like, well, like that. Wow, he's making the max. Like this is, you can't appreciate it. That's why I do think that like when you set expectations so high, then all of a sudden you don't appreciate the smaller things. I think like similar to the experience with Kyle, like a lot of the appeal with these type of players is like you have to appreciate them being willing to do the small things and like locking in and doing that. So obviously Kyle's a lot better offensively, so that's like all kind of goes without saying, but he has time to get there, and hopefully he does. What else? White was a beast. I don't like him. Yeah, I really don't like Derek White's game either in terms of just to watch. But he is so smart. Outsmarted the Raptors constantly with the threat of his pull-up threes. By the way, he took 17 threes. It's unbelievable. I guess it's the Celtics. They took 52 threes. But yeah, he took a bunch of threes, but he also drove to the basket, blocked the Raptors a lot. I thought he single-handedly stymied RJ like at least on 3 drives where I felt like RJ should have just gotten layup almost against anyone else. Like Derek White's ability to block shots at the basket is truly, truly special. Yeah, honestly, like I mean, depending on how the Celtics do, I don't think the Celtics really management wise want to win that badly this year. But I think obviously the coaching staff, the players, like they're really proud and they're prideful and they'll give it their best shot, especially early in the season. They'll see how it goes. But I mean, depending on how the Celtics do, like Derek White might even be a candidate to make the All-Star game. I mean, he's been a fringe All-Star candidate before, especially with the with the Celtics obviously being so successful recently that like maybe there was an argument to put 3 All-Stars, sometimes 4 All-Stars. But yeah, he's very, very smart, man. I don't know. I think he's not a role player, but the fact that he has this in his bag and he just chooses not to play like this most of the time to sacrifice for the team, like because obviously they have more talented players with Brown and Tatum, like that is really impressive. The fact that he's like a premium role player when he needs to be a role player, and then when he needs to scale up, he can still scale up. Like that is truly like very, very special. So I hate to give him credit because I really don't like playing against him, but he is a great player. He really deserves that. What's going on? People are arguing whether Scottie's injured or not. I mean, look, if he's injured, I mean, I'm not. I mean, first off, it's the start of the season, right? So, like, we had all off season to sort of like heal up and hopefully take some stuff away. But I also trust that, especially with the Raptors medical staff and trainers and everything, if he's injured, they wouldn't play him in preseason if he's injured. Like, there's no need to risk anybody, even with the in the enthusiasm to try to play guys in preseason, give them the time. Like, I just. I honestly, if he's playing while injured in preseason, that will be irresponsible on the Raptors' part and quite silly on that front. So, someone says all y'all do is complain about Scottie and IQ. This preseason has been fun, and I'm loving the fight and determination from the second and third unit. Absolutely, I think the second unit, the third unit is definitely fought a lot. Second unit has been fighting too. Second unit, I have higher expectations for because we've seen them. Both in a summer league setting and obviously towards the second half of last year when they were tanking, we saw a lot of these guys, Jamal Shead, Jacoby Walter, Jonathan Mobo, Jamison Battle. Like we saw a lot of these guys play significant minutes last season. And so I do expect better from them, especially in a lot of these moments. But what I continue to see from these guys is just inconsistency and not in the bad way, in the way that it's like sometimes they're really good. In the comeback, we saw that. Like the push was incredible. The all-out energy defensively. I mean, they play way harder defensively than the starters, for example. And the clutch shot making from Jamison Battle there, the acrobatic finishes from Jacoby Walter, Jamal Shead, and Chucky Hepburn flying around like torpedoes, trying to double the ball and steal it. But they also have moments of inconsistency where you saw them all screw up in different moments, like Jamal Shead getting trapped in the backcourt, turn the ball over. As a point guard, you got to be more aware of that, right? Like Jacoby Walter trying to bring him the ball against Peyton Pritchard gets, obviously a bit of an arm in the back, but still like loses his balance. The ball goes off his shin and goes out of bounds. He's complaining about the foul call, but it's like, you got to be stronger with the ball. Like, honestly, you do. Like, you just do. I know it's probably a foul, but you do. Jonathan Mobile. I thought, honestly, Mobile instantly had this stretch where, Mobile instantly had this stretch when he first checked in the game where I was like, I couldn't believe how poor it was, where he got in, obviously, because Colin Murray-Boyle continues to miss time with, the elbow contusion that he suffered last week against the Celtics. So Mobile's getting more time to play. And the first minute when he checked in, let me find the note. Hold on. He found the note. I couldn't believe it. Honestly, I was real disappointed because again, like I just want everyone to come in. Yeah. Okay. There we go. First minute for Mobo. He bites on a pump fake in the corner. I think by Josh Minott, who's not a strong outside shooter. That's a guy where you put a hand up and you slide towards, but you're not jumping to contest that. But he bites on a pump fake. That leads to scramble, rotation, and then eventually leads to an open three for the Celtics. Wouldn't have happened if he didn't bite on that three because everyone had to go help him out after that point. Then the next play down, actually the first play he comes in, he sets a moving screen out of a timeout where, I mean, partially it's because Ingram took way too wide of a route around him, but still, if you see that he's too wide, you can't just go over and body check a guy, like the clearest moving screen. Then he gets backdoor cut by Jordan Walsh for a dunk where he's just protecting and helping in the gaps. But you got to know, obviously, you got to have your eye on your man who's in the corner. If he back cuts on that drive and you don't go with him, or you don't at least go pressure the ball and make the pass difficult, that's just literally a backdoor cut. And that led to Walsh dunking on Mamu. Like, all that was because he wasn't there. And then a kind of a broken play where Ingram got doubled, kind of forced to give up the ball. He was trying to, swing it back out, and both Jacoby and Mobile cut to the area where the pass was going. Mobile ultimately got it, but then with like 2-3 seconds left on the clock, he decides to sort of go into a dribble move and try to drive and like turn back down. And it's just like, clearly he wasn't aware of the shot clock, because it was an easy shot clock violation without him even getting a shot up. So it's just like those little moments were just like, I mean, it's going to be especially important for Mobile, because I think his opportunities are going to be a lot more limited this season as compared to last year. He's got to take them. You know what I mean? This isn't last year where it's like every young guy's going to get the chance to play through all their mistakes. Like, it's just not going to be like that. So, but yeah, like, I have enjoyed the fight. And honestly, some of the most riveting basketball from the Raptors, just in general, is when the young guys start to like really scrap, really fight. Vladdy catches it, touches first, and the Blue Jays win 13-4. It is now 2-1 Mariners in the ALCS. Max Scherzer going to the mound tomorrow. I am so nervous, but that was a great win by the Blue Jays here to fight back and just prove to themselves that they're worthy of being here, because first 2 games have not been good. But, you can't count this team out, man. And big shouts to Andres Jimenez, too, by the way, the 9th hitter coming in and all of a sudden, tying up the game with that 2-run home run, the most unexpected contribution off the team, and that really got the Jays off going. The Jays had 12 straight runs at one point to sort of flip this game. But yeah, man, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's preseason. Like, we're gonna sort of fight back and forth about things, but and it's fair. Like, you're gonna watch Scottie, you're gonna watch Ingram, you're gonna want to see the best of them. You haven't seen that in preseason, but we also have time to sort of work on it, and especially over the course of the first 20 games of the year before anybody makes any trades. All you're doing really is trying to make it work. And I think the biggest question is really up to Darko in terms of just like, you guys got to really make sure that, you find the ways to sort of like balance the lineups out and get everything done. So that's fine. Okay. What am I seeing here? Someone said Lewinberg reported Scottie's knee was injured. Okay. Well, I mean, dude, if he's injured, why is he in the game then? This is why I don't understand. Like, it's preseason, man. You shouldn't be in the game if you're injured. Like, almost nobody should be in the game in preseason if you're injured. It doesn't even count. A Power Dustin sent another $5. Says, first off, thank you. They said, keep in mind, this is the same medical staff that put RJ back into the game last season after he's smashing his head on the floor, clearly being concussed. You know what? That is true. I do remember that. So, okay, maybe I'm putting too much trust in the medical staff. But in any case, guys should be healthy. Otherwise, like, what are we doing? You know what I mean? Like, it's preseason. Like, let's try to be just smart about this whole thing. Like, just smart about the whole thing. Someone said, why are the Celtics always so hateable? You got Keita, you got Garza, Minot, Josh, you got White, Pritchard, all annoying. Absolutely, man. It's just Boston. I think also too, it's like, I gotta give credit to the Celtics fan base, because if you play in the Garden, they're taking the game so seriously, they're so into the game that it kind of just like forces people, even if you can't just play lackadaisical in Boston. Like, there's some teams that you can mail it in Charlotte, you can mail it in New Orleans, like you can probably mail it in like 10 organizations around the league. You cannot mail anything in Boston. Even if you're not a good team talent-wise, they're still going to be expected to fight hard. Like, and I think that's a really credit to just the fact that obviously that's a fan base that has seen 18 championships, and they have high expectations, man. So the Raptors got a little bit of that too, but obviously not to the same degree, the same pedigree. Like, when the Celtics play in Toronto, I actually see a lot of Celtics fans even in the Raptor games. Like, they even travel too. So hate to say that, but yeah, that's true. So hard-hitting journalism from Liban. Wait, hold on. What did Liban say? What did you say, man? Put that in the chat again. Did you get to Liban's question? Yo, send that question again, man. I'm trying to scroll up to find your question, bro. Everyone go follow Liban Osman. I was listening to his episode of the Canadian Basketball Show where he had Mike Simonetta on. He is agent with Life Sports Agency. He represents AJ Lawson. He actually helped me set up the AJ Lawson interview. And it was actually great to, I mean, I know Mike a little bit just from like being around the arena and sort of in a professional context, but hearing him in an expanded capacity talk about what it's like being an agent, his path to being an agent, super well-spoken guy, really, really brilliant guy. And I thought, Liban just did a great job of sort of showcasing that. So go listen to the Canadian Basketball Show with Liban Osman, your number one podcast to cover Canadian basketball in this country. And Liban, best young journalist in the city, baby. All right, the question he asked me again: are you a big fan of Glorilla? Yeah, I guess. I mean, like, I a lot of it's not necessarily for me in the sense of like, like I like the music. If it comes on in the club, like that's fun. Like it's definitely a lot of bops. But at the same time, like what I'm really into at the current moment is more like, I don't know. I'm on a big rock music kick right now. Been a lot listening. I mean, Jerome's gonna laugh when he hears this later. But I keep recommending the album "Getting Killed" by Geese to people. It's a, I suppose they're like an indie band, but they're not really indie. They're more like alternative rock, let's say. I've always been a big alternative rock guy, but yeah, I've been listening to a lot of that. What else have I been listening to recently, man? Who else do I got? What have I been listening to, man? I've been more of an exploratory kick recently. I'm trying to listen to artists that I don't typically listen to. Mogwai. I've been listening to Mogwai, Young Team Mogwai. Y'all know about Mogwai. I've been listening to some Ethel Kane, although another artist that I'm like not entirely sure that I'm 100% resonating with. But this is some Dijon recently, although that's obviously not rock and roll. Yeah, maybe I've just been listening to a lot of Geese, bro. Yeah, Geese is pretty decent. Oh, what? You're gonna teach me some Glorilla at karaoke? Let's go, baby. Hold on. Where's that comment, bro? Hey, I like Glow though. Glow songs are good. They're a bop. We were actually putting Alex on Glow, which is wild. I think his comment was like, "Yo, this reminds me of like a young Ti," and I was like, "You know what, man? Shouts to Ti." But Glow, I mean, she got she got like the Memphis accent, right? So like everything is like, I can't even describe it, man. You just gotta look up Glorilla's accent. Like, there's an interview that she does with Speedy that's very good, where it's just very very funny. So yeah, shouts to Brandon. If Brandon and Glow are still together, hopefully they are. I haven't heard anything otherwise. I just mean like I don't want to assume, but yeah, that might be one of the most famous girlfriends that any Raptors had, to be honest. So shouts to Brandon. But Brandon's vibe is cool, man. I could definitely see why people are chilling. New Dave album coming this week. Y'all probably check it out. When was the last time I heard? When I was interviewing Andrew, and we were watching his workout before he sat down for the interview with us. Bro was working out to nothing but Dave and Central C, man. This guy was putting the top UK rap artists on a loop in that gym as he, practiced step back threes and stuff. It was definitely a lot of Dave and Central C. Shout out to Central C, the C standing for Chinese because he's a little Chinese. Yeah, if you got recommendations, especially for this type of rock, like absolutely. Like someone said, if you like Mogwai, check out Slint. Okay, I will check out some Slint. I don't know necessarily what that is. Cameron Winter, is that an artist? I'm assuming that's an artist. Definitely, I'll probably check that out. Yeah. This watch Glorilla's interview on Sunday Conversation. Yeah, I haven't seen that one yet, but I'll probably check that out. Glow's pretty fun. I like her personality too. She seems like really charismatic. Koki says R.I.P. D'Angelo. Absolutely. We really lost a real one. Way too early too, man. She's only 51, or he's only 51, so way too young. So check out Explosions in the Sky if you like Mogwai. Yeah, these are definitely sentences that are being said out loud. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I've been listening to a lot of new stuff. It's or newer stuff to me, like not necessarily new stuff across the board. What else has been in rotation recently? Thames, yeah, elite music just in general. On and off the court type. Obviously a lot of Oasis. I checked out Joanne Robertson. It was I wasn't feeling it at that time. Maybe I'll give it a second try. What else was I listening to? Obviously a lot of Sigur Rós. Yeah, I guess that's because I was in Iceland recently. Yeah. Oh, and then Luis Bonfa, which is a Mexican guitarist. Yeah, definitely like that style of like almost like a concerto with like a guitar. That was very very fun. That's right. Yeah, that's right, baby. Thames, Nigel to the world. Absolutely. Thames is amazing. Thames is Thames elite in general. Yeah. We all know, man. We all know. We saw Thames at History. Damn, how did I miss that, man? That would be great, man.
That would be pretty great, man. History's great venue, by the way, on the East End of Toronto. Um, the Nick Nurse Foundation once hosted a charity event where a lot of the Raptors were invited to go. The media were invited to go too. But a lot of people left the dinner by the time the surprise performer was playing, and it was Neo. And so by the time Neil was on the stage, there was probably only like, I'm not even kidding, like 50 people in the building. And so initially the media were like sent, like we were like told like, hey, stick in the back, like just like you're not getting a seat, just like get a couple of like, hors d'oeuvres, and just like, don't like be in the main area where people paid thousands of dollars for like a charity table for a dinner or whatever. But the place got so empty that they were like, yo, guys, come in finally. And so we got to like literally be one of 50 people to watch Neo perform. And by the way, shouts to Neo, because he could have easily mailed that in. But man, Neo was going in there, man. And we were going crazy, dancing with like just the Raptor staffers and stuff to like Miss Independent, to like So Sick. I didn't realize, but he wrote Let Me Love You by Mario, which is a Dirty Mac anthem. And I love that song. That's definitely a karaoke song I'll definitely want to go to. So yeah, absolutely. Yo, we got some real music heads in this, man. Oh, Bonfire is Brazilian. Oh, okay. All right. Absolutely. Sorry. I was only familiar with the music as of, I saw it on the YouTube playlist, and then I added it to my Spotify, and I've been listening to that a little bit this morning, and definitely was enjoying the vibe of that. So apologize to Luis Bonfa. Would, if Drake and Glorilla pull up to the same game, would they sit together? Yeah, why not, man? Why not? I don't think she's beefing with Drake, so it's chill. Damn, they let the boards get a glimpse of first class, eh? That's right, but I can't complain, man. Honestly, for the as much as I'm disgusted about how Nick left the organization, I still have to be grateful for two things: the NBA championship and also getting a chance to see Neo one-on-one, basically. Yeah, Neo, legendary songwriter. I think he wrote a song for Beyonce too. I forgot which song, but it was like a pretty big tune. To the left. Oh, really? I guess that does sound like a Neo song. Now that I'm thinking about it, the lyric wise, it does kind of sound like a Neo song. So yeah, this is fun, man. I like when we talked as much ball as possible, but eventually you gotta have other interests, and definitely been looking to expand my music repertoire beyond sort of what I typically listen to. If we go back to one ball questions, I do think this is a good question. For this one, Jack Taylor. Will, I don't like the discourse either, but what are we doing if we can't judge our max franchise player who looks like he can be offensively regressing? That's fair. That's totally fair. I mean, what are we going to do? Not talk about Scottie? Of course we're going to talk about Scottie. We'll probably talk about it every single episode. I don't think any of this is out of bounds. Obviously, I think that this is just discussion of a basketball player, and people are going to have different opinions of, do they believe in it? Do they not believe in it? Do they think he should play like this? Do they think he should play like this? Certainly, I'm not expecting people to be ignoring performances when they're like 3 of 11 or 3 of 13 from the field. And I think Scottie's really struggled from the field overall over the course of the entire preseason. And I've seen a lot of conversations around Scottie. Like, I've seen people jump out a little too far and be like, well, Colin Murray-Boyles is going to replace Scottie. Let's be real. Can we even see Colin Murray-Boyles make his NBA debut? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think people are jumping ahead a little bit. I think the part for me is just like, I guess we've been talking about this for like, this is going to be year 5 of debating this. Well, that's not true. This will be year 4 of debating this, because everybody was like, Scottie Barnes had like a 100% approval rating in year 1. Absolutely everybody loved this guy. I love this guy from Summer League. It was like immediately clear that he was better than what the scouting report was of him coming out of college. Then I think, again, like speaking of Boston, one of my favorite performances from Scottie was still just his first ever road game 2 of the 2021-2022 season. The Raptors go into Boston. I think Pascal was unavailable for that one, and the Raptors come out of that game with a win. And the main reason they won was because Scottie Barnes surprised everybody, and just like, I think he had 26 points. He had a bunch of mid-range jumpers. He was just like taking it strong to guys, like catching guys by surprise. The mid-range jumper was like really hitting for him that game as well. And I just remember being on the Raptors show the next day being like, this, I can't believe it. Like, this player, like, he's exceeding all expectations. Yeah, this game, it was Raptors 115, Celtics 83. Yeah, that's right. The Celtics got booed off the court. I remember this game. Yeah, they got booed off the court. Scottie goes 25 points for 11 of 17 shooting. Goes 1 of 2 from 3. He has 13 rebounds, including 6 offensive. 2 assists. And I'm just like, this unbelievable. Like, the fact that we got the number 4 pick, by game 2, he's already doing this. And he's also leading the Raptors to a huge blowout win on the road in Boston, where the Celtics get booed off the court. Like, it almost doesn't get much better than that regular season wise. So I think had a universally positive rating. I think what's happened in the last, certainly from year 2 was really messy. That's still talked about to this day in terms of what happened at the end there. The Fred and Pascal angle. Thad Young recently chimed in and they talked about how at the start of the season, well, he didn't say at the start of the season, but he said, they were like, putting Fred in the corner and making Scottie have the ball. I remember that was the plan going into the season, and for the first month, they were trying to do that. It wasn't working for anybody. Definitely Fred was not playing well off the ball, and Scottie was not playing well on the ball, so they had to switch it back up, and it led to a lot of issues over the course of the year. I also think that, like, honestly, Masai did not help that situation one bit, but that's neither here nor there. But, like, it was also Fred didn't get the extension that I guess he was looking for. Pascal didn't get the extension the following year. Those all led to exits in the organization, which were pretty nasty and rough to see. But year 2 was really divisive. Everyone's sort of arguing about sort of like, okay, everyone's expecting Scottie to make this jump. Obviously, having won Rookie of the Year. Year 2 is really divisive. Is he... at that time, I think most people favored Scottie, and quite frankly, like, the way that Fred would dribble the air out of the ball and a lot of those possessions were quite ugly. Gary was really tapped out in that season too. A lot of moments of guys just throwing their hands up at each other. There's the Thad Young, Scottie, arguing before halftime, stuff like that. Like, there's just a lot of shit going on. Scottie he got benched for that one game, and Masai had to go down there and talk to him. It was just all sorts of stuff. Like, it's just, I don't know. I really hate that season. That year ended in the where they were winning by like 10 points against the Bulls in the play-in game, and then the Bulls like pranked them. Obviously, the whole DeAndre DeRozan angle, unbelievable. The following season, Fred moves on, gets the max contract from the Houston Rockets. The Raptors wanted to re-sign Fred. They thought they had the biggest offer out there for Fred. But ultimately, Houston came in with the money that they were supposed to give James Harden. They gave it to Fred for 2 years, which obviously Fred took the money, and rightfully so. He also went to a better situation. I mean, he's like really, really adored in Houston, and they won a lot more. But like Dennis Schroeder comes in, they tried it with the new point guard, new coach. None of that worked at all. They were 12-19. They blow up the team, blow up OG, blow up Pascal. And then they're kind of rebuilding. Honestly, the only positive of that season really was the fact that Scottie played so well at the start of it. He was really hot from 3. I remember that November, maybe. I think November 2023. But he was like the bright spot. Just obviously Darko was brought in to sort of really develop and feature Scottie. If you go back and listen to the press conferences, like that's largely what he was brought in to do, was develop the players. And at that time, the Raptors had 2 prospects, I think, that were really worth investing in, which was Scottie in his 3rd year and Grady Dick coming into his rookie year. So like, yeah, they featured him a lot. Definitely featured him more than the way Nick featured him, for example, the prior year. And got him to the All-Star season, which was honestly the best basketball we've seen out of Scottie. Of course, he breaks his hand towards the end of that very unfortunate play. And then last season happens, and last season was like pretty down. I mean, like, I think overall they punted the season from the start when they said they're gonna like basically use the whole year to rebuild and shit like that. Wasn't strong results wise, especially at the start of it. You saw how bad they were defensively until they flipped the switch mid-season. Scottie, I think, was the main factor in terms of flipping that switch. So if you were to say anything positive came out of last season, it was that like the Raptors brought in this crop of like 5 rookies who all had some level of promise, which we see to this day. And also that, the Raptors, led by Scottie, started playing defense. And the second half of the season, you saw some pretty intense defense. But offensively, they also tried like everything under the sun with Scottie. And like, for a season of experimentation, you would like to say like, okay, we tried all this stuff and then we got some hits, we got some misses, we cut out the misses, we stay with the hits. Even that, I didn't really feel like there were a lot of hits. So I think one of the big takeaways was just like, man, I don't know like where, like I think the Raptors, even to this day, you see a little bit here too. Obviously, it's just preseason, but like they're clearly workshopping it. It's like, what's the best way to use him? Because if you had to sort of like draw up one play for Scottie, like even that, I think is still going into year 5 is still like a little bit nebulous in terms of what is definitively like the best play. Like, you could kind of figure out what the best play is for Ingram, the best play is for IQ, the best play is for Yaka, like even RJ, like all these guys, like you kind of have a good idea of what you want them to do. With Scottie, he's still a little bit of like, jack of all trades kind of thing, master of none. So it's just like on the offensive end at least. So I could understand the frustration. The thing is like, I think with all this baggage, and again, we're talking about this going to year 4 of this discussion, it's just like, ah, I mean, maybe it's my own bias because obviously this is my job. Like this is going to be what we're going to have 6 shows this week, so we're going to pretty much talk about on every episode. So like there probably is a bit of fatigue, and I monitor a lot of the discussion in the chat, even elsewhere. On Reddit, on like Real GM, like I see those discussions, and I'm like, okay, this is what people want to talk about. I think it's pretty informative for me to understand like what the most dedicated fans are wanting to talk about, especially online. But like, I'm just like, it feels like people talk each other into their own corners. You know what I mean? At this point, like, I don't know what's going to really bring people together other than Scottie just having a sustained stretch of playing really well and the Raptors winning with that contribution. Outside of that, there's just kind of like these factions that'll fight after every game. It almost reminds me of back in the day, like what people used to do with like, well, I guess to a lesser degree, but like, because the online communities weren't as big, but people used to fight all the time about like, Bargnani, about DeMar. There's like these weird like divisive characters that it's usually like the franchise player, and you're kind of like trying to figure out, are they actually a franchise player or not? That usually leads to the biggest like gripes back and forth. And I think in the case of DeMar, like with enough patience over time, with the right team context around him, he really flourished and became like a really great Raptor. Versus Bargnani was like never really had a great team context around him, but like ultimately kind of like wasn't that guy. And eventually, like they used to be like 50-50 in terms of like, is he going to be a star? Is he not? And then eventually everyone's like, yo, this guy sucks, and he moved on. Like, I think to be clear, I think, Scottie's like leagues above Bargnani. Trust me, I watched Bargnani like almost every game of him as a Raptor. Like, that guy sucked. And yeah, well, I don't even want to go back through it, but like, I do like it in terms of the divisiveness. I kind of remember this, even like with JV, it happened where, and this was to a less extent because the Raptors were winning a lot of games where JV was playing as a Raptor. But it was a lot of discussion of like, should Kyle Lowry and DeMar like pass the ball to JV more, feature JV? Is he the star player of the team? Is he the franchise player? Like, these things just always become huge debates. I do think that the one with Scottie right now, though, like until he starts playing better, like we'll track and monitor, and we'll definitely talk about it. But I do think people kind of talk to a brick wall in a way, man. So JV Hive, yeah, I remember JV Hive. I came up with JV Hive, man. Shouts to JV Hive, man. You guys are wrong, but it's okay, man. It's all good, dog. Yeah, Sags, there you go. Yo, the old Sportsnet forums used to be so argumentative about Bargnani. I remember, Raptors Republic used to have a forum back in the day. Real Jim's been around forever. Yeah, they used to fight a lot. I mean, look, shit's gonna happen, man. Like people are gonna fight about this. I guess what else are you gonna talk about, right? It's preseason, so that's fair. Scottie will be ready for opening night. He'll definitely ramp up his intensity. I don't doubt that. Scottie feeds off the crowd a lot. He's going to come out super intense. I think, by the way, it's funny because I feel like defensively he's played pretty intense. Like, he's giving extra efforts. He's rebounding the ball hard. He's rotating. He's, like, jumping out for blocks. Like, it's weird because, like, it feels like he's almost... I mean, I don't know. When I watch him play defense, he looks 100%. But then when he plays offense, he doesn't look 100%. So it's hard to sort of pin it down. I don't know. It's fine. If you got a bad knee, he shouldn't play. Like, especially preseason. It's just not worth it. So, all right, I think that's enough, man. How much do we want to talk about this? Congrats to the Blue Jays for the win. And yeah, can't judge, but he's been judged since 2022, and that's expected. But why deny it? I don't really understand what the context of that is. So maybe a bit of clarification. That might not be a Jays. That might not be a commentary on me either. Maybe that's just a ongoing conversation people are having in the chat. So what else we got, man? Yeah, it's chill, man. Triangle offense with Will Levan and Alex. Hey, the games. Hey, by the way, we did have a sport versus media game back in the day. Like, I think, by the way, before Joe Mazzulla ever did it, actually it was Krina Mustafa and I forget. I'm so sorry for the other organizer, but TMU, Toronto Metropolitan University, actually organized a game of this where they had athletes play against, like, university athletes play against a whole bunch of people in the media. And I have to say, I mean, media did win that one. Media did win that one, especially the first one. So And me, Alex, and Liban were absolutely on that side. Alex, by the way, with a huge free throw to force overtime in that one too. So it's chilling. It's chilling. Celtics media demolished. Celtics coaches demolished Celtics media in a game. How will the Raptors media do against Raptors coaches? Not good at all. I'm here to. Like I said on the episode earlier today. Like, I'm not trying to be rude. Certainly a couple guys can play. Gavin Barry, who most people don't know because he's behind the camera, but he's part of the production staff. Gavin's great. He's won the media MVP the last 2 games. I think he played in college. So Gavin's really nice. I played with him both games too. So both times, I definitely like he's athletic, goes to the brim. Certainly not dunking on guys, but like plays big. Even has a bit of an outside game too. That's good. Some of the OGs are pretty good, like Akil Augustine, Randy Urban, Dwayne Watson, even though Dwayne now works for the Raptors, but still, I consider them media people. Those 3 guys are pretty good. They're obviously older now, but you can clearly tell they played at a higher level. Akil, pretty creative off the bounce, can shoot it from 3 as well. Randy Urban, just straight gunner, going to try to score every time he get a chance he gets. And then Dwayne has like a bit of a multi-skilled big kind of thing going on for him. But yeah, if we're talking about the beat writers and the podcasters all around the Raptors, we would get crushed even harder than 57-4 is my guess. By the way, I heard reports that apparently the Celtics coaching staff on offense were only shooting 3s, and then defensively they were full court pressing, which is one thing, but they were largely shooting 3s, so they weren't even trying hard because I think like they could have done even better than 57-4. But I'm here to tell you that again, like among the beat writers, whether you're talking about like Michael Grange used to really play, by the way. Grange used to really hoop, but Grange is older now, so it's not fair. Haven't even seen him play in the media games recently. But Grange back in the day used to play. Like he used to play against like Team Canada guys. So shouts to Grange. But if you're talking about like Eric Kareen, Josh Lewenberg, I hate to throw Liban into this, but Liban, Aaron Rose, myself, Jerome, Alex, S, Samson. Like Samson's fit. Like he's definitely the most fit out that group. He's the youngest. He's got some ball skills. But like, no, man, no. I'm sorry. We get destroyed. I don't care what anyone says. We would absolutely get destroyed by people who play basketball professionally, consistently. All I can really do is chuck up a couple 3s. You see my media game highlights. We played them last year on the show. Like, I can hit a couple of like, 3s decently. I'll probably, fling a couple 3s up, and, I have range. Like I can shoot, but like, and Jerome can certainly shoot. You can cut. But no, we're not just fitness wise. We're not even close to people who are like the Raptors assistant coaches. Like all they do is get on the court every day and work out with the players. So they will definitely crush us. And yeah, I mean, like, I don't even think that's a question, to be honest. So yeah, there you go. Yeah. Yo, leave it. I'm putting you in that, bro. Yeah. I'm sorry, man, but we've been okay. This is how I know, because last couple of media games has been media versus media. So we're talking about just regular civilians, some out of shape, some whatever, older, whatever, largely unskilled across the board. Like I'm even watching that, man. Like outside of Gavin, who's really dominating those, man. Sav can really hoop. Sav obviously played in college, and Sav hit me with the spin move twice. And I got burned. Like I'm not gonna lie about that. I hit a couple 3s. I think I hit 7 points. Like I'm not. No, I guess if there were 3s and not 2s, maybe I got 8 points then, because I think I hit 2 3s and did I hit 3 3s? Okay, somewhere between 8 and 11 points. It's not impressive. You know what I mean? Like, but that's media versus media, man. Media versus full on athletes. Like, are you talking about Noah Lewis? You talking about who we got? We got Ike on that side. Who else we got on that assistant coaching staff, man? Who's the big? Batiste? Mike Batiste? You talking about James Wade? James Wade! It's gonna be James Wade when you hear that. Yeah, man, even the video guys, like, no, man, you can put Bobby in this game. I've seen Bobby hoop. Bobby can really hoop. I'm not even trying to gas on people, but Bobby was, this guy said I was fasting last media day. Get out of here, Lee, man. It don't matter what you were doing, bro. You weren't doing shit. Now, Levan's cool, man. Levan wears like the longest shorts you've seen. He like his game looks like Clyde Drexler, and his hairline looks like Clyde Drexler. So you know what I mean? Like, give a little respect to Levan. So yeah. Sorry, Levan. Appreciate you, dog. But no, we're not doing nothing against these coaches, man. I'm not even gonna lie to you. So, okay, that's it. Let's get to 3 stars and wrap up this show. Appreciate everyone for obviously tapping in. If you haven't already, hit like in the stream, please. Absolutely, it helps the show and everything like that. If you guys are already here enjoying this, just hit the like, and also keep leaving recommendations for music too. I've been definitely trying to check out. Just actually leave me the album too, like your favorite album from the artist you're recommending, because I like to listen through entire albums. I'm not like a check out one song kind of guy. Like I really want to get the whole vibe of what the people are going for. So anyway, yeah, 3 stars and Gerald Henderson Award from tonight's performance. First star is gonna go to what else we got, dog? Okay, first star I'm gonna give it to. I'll give it to Bi. I thought Brandon played well. 20 points, 10 rebounds, 8 of 22 shooting from the field, 2 of 5 from 3, 2-2 from the foul line. I felt like when the Raptors got the spacing right and he had the room to operate, the man was scoring. So yeah, Brandon, I thought his effort to rebound too, the guys to really, again, his length is just, it's been a real marvel watching Brandon Ingram to start. I've been really appreciating his skill level and everything involved. So it's been fun watching Brandon. He's probably been my number 1 thing to watch for in preseason. Number 2 star, go to RJ. 17 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists. Kind of got beat by Derek White a little bit on both ends. Derek White blocked him a couple times at the rim and also got the best of him defensively a couple times. But overall, like 17 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, 7 to 12 shooting, hit a 3, got to the foul line twice. RJ's been knocking out his free throws, which has been nice. I've been enjoying seeing him actually convert on the foul line. And he just looks refreshed. Overall, he looks to be playing pretty well. So I'll give RJ the 2nd star. And then the 3rd star, I don't know. Could be Scottie defensively again, but I feel like I keep doing that. So, maybe I'll give Ochai a little bit of love. Yeah, shouts to Ochai. Ochai, 10 points, 6 rebounds, an assist, a steal. Thought he came in again, like, just kind of fits in with everybody. Catch and shoot threes, spacing, getting underway. Worked a pick and roll. I think he got Jakob a layup. Yeah, just doesn't really take much off the table. So, shouts to Ochai. Didn't really make a lot of mistakes. A lot of other guys made a lot of mistakes tonight. So, that's that. Your Gerald Henderson Award winner, that's going to go to Xavier Tillman, X-Man with the floater to beat the Raptors. Again, miscommunication. I think Jamal and Jameson will be kicking themselves in terms of both guys going to the same player and leaving him open on the inbound where he's able to get the floater to drop. But thankfully that it did end the game and we didn't get overtime because I really wanted to start the pod and also watch the Blue Jays. So that's it. Thanks everyone for listening. Appreciate everybody for hanging out here. Again, we'll be going live after every game. Sometimes it might take like 2 or 3 minutes just to set up the stream, but we'll be going live. We'll be talking about everything, and I appreciate the conversations that we had here today and the music recommendations. These are killing me, man. I'm gonna end the show with just a couple of these comments for this fake media game. Josh Lewenberg for 3, bang! He did hit 1 3 last time we played, so shouts to Josh. Michael Grange to the hoop and 1. Yeah, I could definitely see that happening for sure. Doug Smith to Michael Grange for the alley-oop. What a jam! Yeah, that's never happened in a million years, man. So appreciate everyone for listening. This is a lot of fun, and we'll catch you on Friday. Actually, we're gonna crack a fresh NBA 6-pack with Alex Wong during the day. I think in the morning, 10:30, and then Friday night Raptors versus the Brooklyn Nets. To wrap up preseason. Hopefully we get to see the starting 5. Hopefully we get to see Colin again too. Would love to see Colin. Grady picked up a bit of back spasms. Hopefully we get everyone in the game and we get a chance to see the Raptors at full strength. So thanks everyone for listening. Preseason's almost done. Regular season's around the corner next week. So we can stay tap in, baby. So thanks everyone for listening. Appreciate you guys. We'll catch you guys. Oh my God. Last thing. Oh my goodness. $5. Okay. Give me that for $5. Last question for the road. Really last question. I appreciate the money, but question, why among Raptor media is there a preset hierarchy with all crowning Barnes as the best players as a loyalty testing? No, I mean, I think, Scottie has been the best player for the Raptors, especially the last 2 seasons, since all the trades have been made, moving Pascal, moving OG, Fred leaving, all that kind of stuff. I think, like, Scottie's, been the best player on the Raptors.
It's a two-way thing with him. He's like oftentimes been their like second best rebounder. Definitely been their best playmaker in this stretch, especially with the passing. He's had stretches where his jumper has been going, and the offense doesn't look as clunky as it does here today. And also, like, I don't know, like he just drives a lot more winning than the other guys. Like I think if the comparison was to Jakob, IQ, and RJ, I it's not nearly a hot take to say that Scottie was better than those guys. This is the first time since Pascal where with Ingram in, it's a debate in terms of who's the better player. Offensively, I think Ingram is the better player. He's more seasoned, he's more skilled, he scores at all three levels, something that Scottie doesn't do right now. And playmaking wise, I mean, Scottie's a good playmaker, but so is Brandon. Both guys have been, up around that like 5-6 assists per game kind of range. But then defensively, I don't think Ingram's bad. I think Ingram's like, actually done a pretty good job fitting into what the Raptors want to do, especially in preseason. But Scottie's like excellent on that end too. So I think it's a debate, and I think that the good thing is that the Raptors have added enough talent that we can have this debate again. So I appreciate you guys for saying this is triple overtime. No, I don't think it's a loyalty thing, though. I really don't think that. And it's not, I don't know about crowning. I feel like that's a little bit, that feels like it's undeserved. You know what I mean? I think Scottie has definitely fought hard, played really hard. It's just that he's got one of the most unorthodox games that you've seen in the league, and it's a little bit of a beauty in the eye of the beholder kind of situation too. But we'll have lots of time to talk about this. I appreciate the $5, but we'll catch you guys after the next game.